What's up everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about the Nikon D80 and see if it's still good in 2024. For me, I think this is the sweet spot of Nikon DSLRs, especially if you're collecting the older DSLRs. The Nikon D80 was released back in August of 2006. This makes this camera an 18-year-old camera as of July 2024. Even with this age, I still think it's a very capable camera, especially if you know what you're doing. And I remember when this camera was released, I had the Nikon D40 and I was actually looking through the photography forums, and not a lot, but some people were using the Nikon D80 already, and I was looking at the photos and comparing it with my D40, and the photos just looked amazing. You know, one of the reasons why it looked amazing is probably because of the lenses that they were using too. I think back then when it was released, it was the camera that everyone wanted because the Nikon D80 had the goodies from the Nikon D200, and it was an upgrade from the Nikon D70, the D70S. So let's just get straight to the specs of the D80. The Nikon D80 has a 10.2 megapixel CCD crop sensor. It has 11 autofocus points. The ISO ranges from 100 to 1600 with a boost up to 3200. It can shoot up to 3 FPS. It has one memory card slot. It has a 2.5-inch LCD screen, and that LCD screen is actually from the D40 and the D200s. And just going to the good stuff about this Nikon D80, one of the reasons why I like it so much is because of the AF motor on the mount. It's well built and it fits really nice in the hands. It's not like super bulky. I don't know if you've had your hands on the D70, but it is slightly smaller from the D70. And it's just a nice mix between the D70S, the D50, and the D40. It's like right in the middle. And if you can find one for a pretty good price, it is really good, especially for the bang for the buck. You can find plenty for under $100 now, and the ones that are in better condition are probably going to be under $150. I got mine for about this much, I don't remember, but for the price of it, it's pretty good. Another great thing about this camera is the CCD sensor. Many people love the colors from it, and again, I'm gonna come back to it as well. Another great thing about it is the cost of this camera, especially the used ones. I know that you can find plenty of these for under $100, and even the ones that are in better condition for right under 150. I've never seen them go above 200 just for the body, but I think if you find a lens with it, depending what kind of lens, you'll probably see them float around $200 to $250, depending on the condition the D80 is in. And another great thing about this D80 too is the autofocus, which kind of surprised me how good the autofocus is too. And just going to the bad things about it, it's just not really bad, not a deal breaker, but it's just one of the nitpicky things. I wish this camera did have a 1/8000 shutter speed. The max is 1/4000. And another bad thing about this camera is the slower FPS. It only shoots at 3 FPS, so if you are doing fast action or fast moving subjects, that might cost you. This camera has no video, it has no Bluetooth, it has no Wi-Fi, and you know, the wear and tear from the Nikon D80s, it's a given. It is an older camera, and these are known to be workhorses for other photographers. And another issue too that I have seen from my previous review is the error. It could be a lot of factors, from a bad battery or to the contacts on the lenses from the camera mount, so it just really varies. So if you have a bad battery or if you have a third-party battery, that could be giving you an error. So a little history about the Nikon D80. When it was released, it was $1,000 back in 2006. That's a little over about $1,500 as of July 2024. And back then, I think it was a much more reasonable price because of the D200 that was released too. And the D200 still had a lot of traction back then. And earlier, as I said, when I had the D40, the D80 was the camera I wanted until the Nikon D90 was released. And right when the Nikon D90 was released, everyone just kind of forgot about the D80, I think. And now I think the Nikon D80 is a solid performer for photographers that want to get into it, or someone new, or someone that's just looking for a camera that is just right below the D80 but right above the D70S. And I also think it's probably because this is Nikon's last camera with the CCD sensor. And if it's not, comment below too, because I forget if it's the D80 or the D300 or the D3000 or the D60. I forget. Comment below, let me know. And talking about the CCD sensor, a lot of people really like the image quality from it. The colors from the D80 are very nice. When you're reviewing the images on the LCD screen, they're pretty accurate to what you'll see on the computer. That's my experience with it. And your D80 may vary depending on the condition it's in. Another cool thing I like about the D80 is the ISO grain. It gives you a very film-like grain, you know, something that you don't see on modern cameras nowadays. The high grain just gives you that really unique look to it. So it's one of the reasons why I like using this D80, especially at nighttime, and depending on how much light you get to work with. And also, like I said earlier before, the D80 also has the autofocus screw. This gives you a wide range of lenses to use, and you can also buy the cheaper lenses that have this too. With the AF screw, you'll be able to use lenses that have this screw type focusing system built into the lens mount like this. Let's go to the image quality of the D80 too. I think it still holds up really well, especially right under ISO 800. It's still a great camera to learn with, and it's one camera I would highly recommend if this is a camera for someone brand new or for a student. I would highly recommend investing on a decent lens for this camera just to see your images improve too. And that goes for any camera, not just the Nikon D80. You can find a used 50mm 1.8D lens for under $100. I know brand new they're about $120, but if you can find one used that's still in good condition, you can find them even under $80 all day long. And I think I bought my 50mm for about $48, and pair it with the D80, it's an awesome combo. But my personal favorite lens with the D80 is the Tamron 45 1.8. And those are the two lenses I would highly recommend, especially if you're just starting out, and especially if you're on a budget too. As for the ISO performance, here are some examples from ISO 100, 125, 160, 200, 250, 320, 400, 500, 640, 800, 1000, 1250, 1600, high 0.3, high 7, high 1.0. What do you think about the grain? Let me know in the comments. Personally, I like the grain. It just gives the image more of like that, you know, film grain look. It's one of the reasons why I like this camera so much, because it just, I don't know, it's just the characteristics from this grain, this camera. My newer cameras doesn't, you know, like even the D7000 or the D300S doesn't give you that grain look, but I know the D800s with the CCD sensor, it just gives you that, you know, that look to it. I think the people that have used it will let you know in the comments. As for build quality, mine is beginning to show its age. It's not weather sealed, but I do like the control panel. As you can see here, most settings you can see are pretty accessible with a press of a button or just by moving the dials. Personally, I like viewing the top panel to see what my settings are instead of looking at the viewfinder. So overall, there are more positives than negatives with the Nikon D80. Like I said earlier, I know there are the common error issues on the Nikon D80 that could be from a multitude of factors, from bad battery or the connectors on the lenses and the camera body mount. It could just be wear and tear. It could be a lot of things. Most of the time, it's probably just a bad battery, especially since these batteries are getting old. That's what I've experienced with third-party batteries. But even with Nikon batteries, I know that I've used the Nikon D80 and the D90 and the D7000 batteries. I don't know if the D7000 batteries work. No, not the D7000, the D700 batteries. I have used the D700 and the D90 batteries. I switched them back and forth, and I believe they do work, but I have never used the third-party batteries just because I've had bad experiences. But if you do know of a good third-party battery for the D80 or the DSLRs, please leave a comment below, because I would love to purchase it too. So even though the Nikon D80 does not have video recording, no Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi, no GPS, I think this is what makes the Nikon D80 a photographer's camera, because you don't have to pay attention or worry about video or Bluetooth or anything else like that. You just have it in your hands. It's a camera to take photos, and you just take pictures with it. And I said earlier before, I think this is the sweet spot of Nikon DSLRs. It has a wonderful 10 megapixel CCD sensor. It's very well built. You can use the older screw type lenses on it, and the images, if you know what you're doing, you can get very awesome colors from it. So I think in 2024 that the Nikon D80 is still a very capable camera to use. As much as I do like my other DSLRs, the D80 is one that, you know, if it's an event or something, it's one camera I'll bring just because I know that it's going to produce great colors, the autofocus is fast, and I can use a bunch of my older AFD lenses. You know, I'm trying to help everyone as much as possible, because, you know, these cameras are getting really expensive now, and like, it's one of the reasons why I love doing these videos, because the D80 is still a very, very capable camera, especially for photography. Does it beat an iPhone or the modern cell phone cameras? Heck yeah, it does. I think if you put a good lens on it, you're definitely going to get really good image quality. But just remember, for fast moving subjects, it's probably not going to be super fast just because of the 3 FPS. So what would I use the D80 for? Right now, I would just use it for family events, for portraits, for travel, for a weekend getaway. If you don't want to bring your other expensive gear, you know, you can bring that D80 along with you, and you'll have a really great time with it. And it's not too heavy too. As much as it is bulky, it's not too heavy. Surprisingly, I think it was just a little heavier than my Nikon D60. So yeah, if you have any questions about it, leave a comment. And if you've gotten this far, I really appreciate everyone watching. And if you do like this video, if you have any questions, please leave a comment. And yeah, again, thanks for watching, everyone. See ya.